Welcome to Twisted Monday, featuring Riley. I would offer like a stream point redemption thing to feed Riley treats, but you know, seems prohibitive to the pacing. So today we're gonna attempt to play a game I played a few times, the least of any Twisted Metal. We'll give it credit for that. This is in celebration of Axel's appearance in Season 2 of Twisted Metal on Peacock. Streaming now. Get your subscription or find a way to get it for free. Wink, wink. So we're going to play as Axel here in the storyline. First character, because I think it's arranged alphabetically. It's been a decent while since I played this game. When the sort of officially released version of this game, Twisted Metal Lost, was released, directed by David Jaffe. He made Axel the best character in the game by far. Axel is unreasonably good in Twisted Metal Lost. This version of the game, as far as I know, had no input from David Jaffe. And Axel's special does about half as much damage as it does in Lost. Which, to say the least, blunts the potential of this vehicle a great deal. I mean, the worst part is that if you got 3 people in the special at the same time, it deals 23 damage. So if you hit 3 people simultaneously, 69 damage, baby. You'd have to get a hell of a lot more than 3, and it still wouldn't be 69. So this is maybe the worst version of Axel, based solely on that. I still don't think he has the special wherein he curls up into a cylinder, closes the wheels on himself. Gotta find some health refills. There are a lot in this level. Probably not as many as there would be in the finished game, though. Had the finished game ever been finished. Glad to see 3 shots still don't work. That thing fired right into the sky. Pretty sure there's a health refill on this part of the highway. Way to humiliate me, video game. Nope, there it is. Now who's humiliated? Suspect the game volume might be a little high. Just in case. I am ready to destroy 5 enemies. I don't think I have to kill 5. I think I only got to kill 3 or something ridiculous. Up, using shields. 1 down. So the combat usually goes very, very quickly in this game. If not for the 3 life limitation from classic Twisted Metal games, this game would be ridiculously easy, laughably easy. Some of the characters still is very, very easy. I'm susceptible to infinite freeze combos from Mr. Slam. Mostly we just want to get rid of Slam. Slam's pretty busted in this game. Oh, I died. That's inconvenient to have died so early. because you legitimately only get 3 lives. And the level's never hard reset, so you never get a free full health refill. It's awful realistic like that. Like that RV model. I don't think I've seen that before. So, in a lot of ways, I've been taking my time because I'm going to be discussing the first 3 episodes of Season 2 of Twisted Metal. Sharing my thoughts on that, and there's going to be spoilers, so if you haven't seen Season 2 of Twisted Metal, you should probably watch it before watching Onward. Although I will be doing bonus levels later on that I have not shown off. On YouTube, there will be a nice timestamp for when I start those. Doing it live, no such luck. It's 3 down. Thought so. So the escape route is over this bridge. Gotta drive there manually. No sweet tooth blimp to deliver us between destinations. I'm gonna take some Zoomy missiles. They're pretty good. So now we should be about ready to spoil Twisted Metal, the TV show. As much as there is to spoil, it's only 3 episodes in, and nothing has happened. Which I'm honestly really into, that they gave the room space to breathe and just have the characters interact and develop while the plot sort of goes on in the background. They're gradually approaching the plot, but so far it has been irrelevant to most of their actions. Someone already blew up one of the buildings. So, as of 3 episodes in, the tournament has not started. But they are talking about it and preparing for it. Which gives it the appropriate gravity, and it gives the characters enough time to establish motivations and desires. I think it's extremely well handled, and more importantly, it's been really fun to watch. Sort of a 90s type show running pacing, where the plot is not why you're watching. You're invested in it, hopefully. I certainly am. It's the Twisted Metal tournament. But honestly, I could watch 50 episodes of the characters just dicking around, giving each other shit. It's very Futurama-esque, and really all those shows where there's just a crew working together, having conflicts, coming together in the end. Like I said, super 90s feeling. I love it. And they leapt right into the characters being fully formed. In Season 1, they did a bad job establishing characters and keeping them consistent throughout. I mean, Quiet, by the end of the season, she was the same as John Doe. She was just constantly shit-talking. Constantly talking. She wasn't quiet anymore. They still called her Quiet. That annoyed the hell out of me. Since they've already spoiled the quiet part of her character, now she can sort of be her own thing. She's getting more and more dissimilar to John Doe and more distinct in her own right. And the new characters have slotted right in. Like, all the acting and writing, I think, is perfectly on point. The way it absolutely needed to be. Looks like when a building blows up, yeah, full screen flashes. Just like Twisted Metal 2. For some reason, I didn't notice that in previous playthroughs of Harbor City. Nice to have you, Blast Tyrant. as always, and the main spoiler is there's nothing to spoil yet in Season 2. Watch it whenever you feel like it, because the season is taking its time. They got a dozen episodes instead of 10 this time. The first season was kind of like 24, in that you have a 10-day time limit. The plot has to resolve in 10 days. Otherwise, John Doe doesn't get what he wants. That's the expiration on his prize. And there's 10 episodes, so effectively, every episode of the first season was 1 day. Second season, much more free-form. The tournament is going to happen at a specified date, but we don't know what that date is. And in-universe time, it could be 10 episodes before they get there. I'd be fine if it did take 10 episodes, honestly. And they're bringing in a ridiculous number of characters from in the games, plus a new character already. They brought in Mayhem, who is just another fast-talking dick of a character. Just a scavenger. They have an archetype. The writers are comfortable writing a specific voice, and that is the voice. But Mayhem does it in a completely different way from everyone else, so I will accept it tentatively. Honestly, my least favorite character so far. It seems like they're really faking out who might be Calypso's daughter. It could be Mayhem. It still could potentially be Quiet. It's supposed to be Krista Sparks, however, Krista is Dollface, who is John Doe's sister. So she's the lowest possible candidate, despite being named Krista. And also, it could be nobody. It's the classic Killer Man conundrum. Hell, the viewer could be Calypso's daughter. Best shot is at taking out Roadkill right now. I think there's a health refill in this alleyway. I think he went and got. Could have used that. I kind of like that there could be multiple of the same vehicle in this game. It's another thing that happened again in Twisted Metal 2012. I suppose it doesn't make sense in this version of the story. We can physically see that the other Axel is driven by Axel the Man. Anyway, there's really not a lot to talk about in the new season. In a way that I like. I love that they're taking their time. I love that they're just not advancing stuff. They're languishing and enjoying the characterization. I will say that in a lot of shows like Breaking Bad and BoJack Horseman, they get an increased episode order in their final season. And the fact that it's kind of a miracle that Twisted Metal got a second season at all seems unfortunately likely that they have already canceled the show and they simply aren't announcing it, because a lot of people just don't watch a show that's already canceled. So they're probably going to wait for the season to finish out and then say it's officially canceled. Hopefully not. But if that is something they're doing to help some investment and get some viewership on the show, it's literally the only thing they're doing. They stopped making trailers months ago. There's been like no marketing, no hype whatsoever for Twisted Metal Season 2. Which sucks, because so far I think it's way better than Season 1 was. I think a lot of people that I know would really, really, really enjoy it. And hardly any of them are actually watching it. I posted about it on a forum, which I linked on my YouTube. And in that forum, someone who was really interested in it had no idea that it was happening. It was the first they had heard that there was a Twisted Metal Season 2. So they have done a atrocious job with marketing. No one knows about this show. No one cares. Some people clearly care because I have gotten about 1,000 extra views per day on my YouTube channel. Mostly old Twisted Metal videos. But that is much less than what I got for the first season when that aired. And they even did the first season pretty dirty as far as marketing, so... Should probably talk about Mr. Grimm in the TV series, now that he is in the TV series. They hinted that he would be magical and actually stealing souls and shit. And they have undercut that in the TV show. They show him stealing souls, and then they show him being crazy and not actually stealing any souls. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's reality, but they're implying that there is no magic in this universe, which means a lot of wishes that people have already established as their motivation in the show are not actually possible. But a lot of them are, so. Right now they've taken 3 whole episodes to just do setup. The tone is probably going to change pretty significantly once payoff comes around. And they could fumble it. Remains to be seen. But the Mr. Grimm they're depicting in the show so far is really just a villain. He has almost no personality or motivation. He's just a non-stop killing machine. So I don't think they're going to build too much on him. Okay, goodbye, Mr. Grimm. You can go conquer the last level if you feel like it. I hate fighting in the arena. So hard to land shots. Gonna eventually be learning this game as a speedrun, just casually, because no one seriously speedruns this game yet. There's very few times on the leaderboard. They're pretty much all submitted by one person, so... Should be easy to optimize this game a little bit. What I'm honestly thinking is this game would be good to speedrun as a incentive in a marathon. So we're talking about speedrun marathons again. There's an ongoing submission period to one of the marathons that I've run in before. At this exact moment, that period ends August 10th. And I haven't practiced any of my speedruns in about a year. So there is no way I'm going to be able to submit to it, unfortunately. I hope those guys don't just leave the level. Because I gotta kill 3 of the 5 enemies. I just keep running loops around the damned arena. So memorizing level layout would be the first step in speedrunning this game. As it is the first step in playing any Twisted Metal game. supposed to be like reading the signs here. That's a big part of what I'm going for this stream, especially in the second half, when I'll be going to the optional bonus levels that were in the Harbor City prototype. And I haven't yet played in this more finished prototype yet. I'm looking forward to checking those out. One enemy appears to have been trapped out of bounds and fell into the void enough times to have died. Health refill in the gazebo. Sweet Tooth so far has been a little better than he was in season 1 of the TV show, which is saying something because Sweet Tooth was already the best part of season 1. I have to go back into the last level to kill one of these things. This is annoying. But it feels like even Will Arnett, who was already nailing the role of Sweet Tooth, is doing even better. They're just not giving him a ton to do. First season, he was in every episode very frequently. I think he has missed entire episodes in the second season, out of the 3 that exist. If nothing else, he's been deprioritized a great deal. So that should have been the "you win" message. I don't even know if I can go far back enough to whoever this is. I think it's roadkill. This game is unfortunately pretty bugged out. At least they don't deload the previous levels. The promise of an open world Twisted Metal is surprisingly well delivered on here, at the cost of the game being, in its current state, unplayable on actual console. The reason it took so long to emulate this is because they had to have a dev-specific console with far greater technical specifications. Can't seem to hit the guy who has 1 HP up there. Let's see. Okay, they're both dead, but they can't die. So we can't win, nor can we lose. This is purgatory. And that's Twisted Metal. Arguably a series about living in purgatory. Since we can't really advance here, might as well just call it. We can't go to the mall, which is kind of lucky because one of the bonus levels that I was going to show off is the mall. So let's start looking at those. I have a list on my phone that I meant to bring up in advance. There it was. So for the bonus levels, we have to play them in challenge mode with Axel. Looks like the docks is one of them. There's a ton of them here. This one's from the main game. Goth is the mall. Ooh, so many. Too many. Estate, Harbor 1. Fascinating. A lot of those levels are broken, so we won't be seeing them. But we're gonna see 7 levels. So double what we saw in the actual story mode. Starting with the docks. Apparently I'm going to bring no enemies into the docks. But there's a default of 1, so we'll take 1 for now. This level was in the much older prototype that I showed off quite a while ago. It featured Postal Dude having aged very poorly. Just with a bald spot, bit of a beer belly. Adult Postal Dude. Actually, in Postal 2, Postal Dude has a bald spot, so slightly more adult. Postal Dude. Gonna try and ignore this guy who, if we get far enough away, the AI routine should break down and cease to follow me. You can see this sort of level geometry came back in the Death Port. Twisted Metal Lost. Environments are much more complete. Everything has a texture, which is a thing of beauty compared to what we saw in the prototype. These do not start broken, but I spawned on top of one of them and it immediately broke. This clearly is where, there we go. If you drive on top of the breakable parts, they just collapse. This is where the connection to the other level would be. If we drive down here, we will fall off the level and just fall permanently. So I should probably not do that. I do like the background of complete wreckage. They had some story in mind about Harbor City. Probably they were going to weave it into Twisted Metal Apocalypse. It was one of the prototype ideas for Twisted Metal 2012 that they decided against. But they were kicking it around at the time that they were making Harbor City. Probably. Another level interconnection. There were a bunch of billboards. The prototype version, and I've found billboards in this level. I've tested it before to make sure it was one of the ones that works. When I tested it, there were some billboards up on that top level, but they were, like, bad and boring. The ones in the prototype are much more interesting. And the hangars. Frankly, too much debris in the hangars. We're gonna see that a lot. Excessive breakable objects. So much so that you can't even, like, tell what's going on. They cover the entire screen as you're driving through them. Let's see if I can kill Spectre here. On this ship. Killing the enemies is not really a requirement. Frankly, if they kill me, we're just as done here. Spectre's easy enough to kill. Seen pretty much all there is to see of this one. Going to start throwing down save states, so this is easier. Goth is the mall. We'll come back to Goth, since we have seen it, technically, very briefly. Instead, we'll do the Railyard. Let's actually do what I said and throw down that save state. Hope that worked. Oh, there's also TBD as one of the enemies. If you select that, the game doesn't load. Just goes into an endless loading screen from which no one can ever survive. And I'm really bad at menuing, so we're going up against just old pickup. In the Railyard. So they made this look way scummier. Previously it had no textures, so it didn't have any personality whatsoever. Now, it actually looks like a level. Very much in line with the rusty messed up aesthetic that is present throughout the rest of the game. Except for the amusement park, really. The amusement park is pretty clean. Not the fanciest place in the world, but I've definitely been to much nastier amusement parks. IRL. Oh, shouldn't have done that. Yeah, I think this bridge is usable, so we'll use it. This is more like what we saw in the prototype. I suppose I will have to link in the video description, since I'm referencing it so much. This has to be where the levels interconnect. Means I am, yep, just about to fall out of the game. I actually played a free horror game on itch. That was a driving game, like a kart racer. But the whole point of it was to fall out of bounds, and when you do, terrifying existential crises occur. The pacing was abysmal, so I'm not going to play it. But it had something to do with a kitty. It was like kitty kart something. Good idea. Seemingly unfinished. I don't remember any structure even vaguely similar to this in the prototype. Never seen anything quite like this in a Twisted Metal game. Environmental attacks. Unavailable. So either we destroy something and then it becomes an environmental attack, or they just didn't put the environmental attack into the game yet. But they sure put in the pickup. So this level is so huge as to be inconvenient. This is much larger even than, like, the city center level in the story mode. It would be absolutely unreasonable to do combat in this level. If this were like an online game, where you maybe had some tools to track enemies, could be interesting, but it wasn't going to be online. And the only way to track enemies was the minimap, which only gets you so far. Got some oil rigs with actual textures and physics. These are solid for some reason. Wish they'd given Old Pickup some kind of name. But they've already got Junkyard Dog, so Old Pickup is not really an inspired character. Also wish we could get up on the ship itself. Remember these destructible things back in the prototype? No textures there, though. Not entirely sure what this building's supposed to be. Seems like it has no potential entrances. Still have my environmental attack selected. Inexplicably just running out of the level. If you were a slow vehicle, this would be unbearable. Every enemy could just run away from you eternally. Whatever. My save states aren't working, for whatever reason. Would only save us a few clicks. Our next level is going to be Airport. Very interesting one. I'm glad this one actually works. Gauntlet, Dark Legacy. The last Gauntlet I played, well, I owned the one on N64 and played that one to extreme excess. And then my friend's dad was really into the one that is on the PS2. I don't know which one that is. But yeah, I haven't played any Gauntlet games since the PS2. I know there's a lot of them on the PS2. It's really hard to keep track of which ones are the good ones, too. Ooh, this is dangerous. This weird structure here. You can sink into it and fall out of the world. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but it should not exist. It might be the entranceway from a different level, and they just walled it off. But they did a bad job. It breaks easily. Voodoo flyers, scare air. This is a horror game sometimes. That's right, yeah, the PS2 game was sort of a remake of the one I knew on the N64. So in theory, I guess I sort of have played Dark Legacy? Maybe, probably. As I said, the Gauntlet series is very, very, very messy. So we got the baggage return. This level has 3 separate floors, just not to its benefit. I love how much knockback you get with Axel's special in this game. But there's nowhere to, like, bounce enemies off the level. Yet. Maybe if I were real clever, I could find some. Since there are so many places you could fall to your own doom in this game. Just gotta make sure it's a spot where they will respawn after taking damage, rather than just fall infinitely and then be out of the game. Gauntlet's the sort of game that I would totally play if I could get some multiplayer going. It's also fun to just be extremely depressed and play Gauntlet for 18 consecutive hours and do nothing but sleep otherwise. That's the definition of fun in my book. That's pretty much what I was doing with Gauntlet when I had it on the N64. Scratch the early roguelike itch. You know, I talked about just about everything that happened in the new season. Twisted Metal, except for Axel's appearance. Which, as usual, not a ton happened. It was really a comedy segment, but it was a retelling with different characters of his head-on story. Which is neat. They could reference head-on a lot throughout the TV show, and no one would even know it, because of all the Twisted Metal games, that is the one that the least people know exists. So it will seem like original stories. The reason I have Axel with a pizza on stream right now is because, yeah, in Head On, he accidentally wishes for pizza after he wins the tournament. And I created a new emote just for my Twitch subscribers. Check it out. It is the pizza wipe from Axel's ending for all to enjoy. Just spent like a half hour making that today. I still have more open emote slots, so if you have any other ideas for ridiculous trash I could reference, or make myself, I guess, build my own lore, I'm clearly open to it because I have way too many open spaces for emotes. The level design in these games makes gas cans almost completely useless. But anyway, I killed everybody with one shot. Onward. The airport's a cool idea, and it would be really fun to fight there, but you're not really incentivized to do much combat there with the game in its current state. So I can see why they did not include it in the story mode. However, I believe in story mode, they are beholden to putting the levels in a specific order because they already designed the entrance and exit points between each level. And they sort of have to make the levels flow sequentially. So, like, if Goth doesn't attach to the airport, then they can't take you to the airport afterwards without building whatever levels in between it, making it connect properly and all that stuff. So they really just did what they could. Okay. Perfect spawn point. I'm going to get to show off a lot of this level. Well, let's redo this. Menu has lag. Should be able to get into the shipyard. Clearly it loaded properly. Whatever, Spectre and Preacher. That'll do. Again, I assure you that I have played this level. Let's see what happens after I actually die. Maybe then I'll be able to reload properly. It also loaded in 3 different enemies, and I only selected 2. I don't know what's going on there. Seems like Spectre might also be falling in an infinite loop. It's contagious at the time. Almost dead. There we go. I spawned in. It looked like I was on the ground, but I went through it anyway. Let's give this a few more tries, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. That's story mode. Maybe we'll come back and show that off at a later time. As I said, this level is playable. I'm just not sure. Okay, we're gonna play it. I complained about it enough that the game has taken mercy on me. It once again spawned in 3 enemies, apparently. But who knows if any of them are actually in the level. They might just all die off screen. And then it'll boot me out of the level anyway. Okay, Brimstone exists. It is a potential threat, so we're good. I didn't find it when I was playing in, the Railyard. But there are fences like this, except they aren't textured still in the Railyard. Yeah, those 2 enemies are just falling until they die. They spawn somewhere in the middle. Seems the ground is semi-porous for most of the level, so I'm gonna be careful as I explore. We got the battleship that ended up in the death port. If you get too far away from the level, it deloads. Presumably that would have been fixed in the final release. Or at least obscured with a hell of a lot of fog. This game is way, way, way too ambitious for the PS2. But a lot of the ideas are rock solid. They probably should have fleshed them out and included them when they made 2012. And they did take some of the ideas, just relatively few of them. I'm guessing Jaffe was relatively disapproving, as he was not involved in the creation of Overseeing here. When he had the opportunity to direct parts of this game, he changed them dramatically. Aw. There's cool platforming to be done here. Not a ton else. Yep, that's the enemies falling infinitely, and I think that's the best we're going to be able to see of the Shipyard. The most broken level that is still technically playable in this game. There were some level structures I remember seeing from the prototype, but as I think about it, we may not have seen this level at all in the prototype. I forget. Check that video and report back. Tell me what I said in the past. But for now, we're moving on to a level that is in Twisted Metal Lost. This, whenever I find it, Stadium. So Stadium was remade and finished in Twisted Metal Lost. When they finished it, they removed the vast majority of the level. All these stands around the stadium, you can go there. You can see it, you can climb it. It's a very, very heavily remixed version of the level, so I found this interesting the first time I played it because it's got the familiarity of a level I played a million times in Twisted Metal Lost. But absolutely everything has changed at least a little bit. For example, and up here where, again, this level is criminally large. It's preposterously oversized. I want to see how much they thought things would cost here at the snack bar. Super hard to read, but candy bars are $1. Nowadays, you're lucky if you can get candy bars for $1 at a grocery store. Also, don't mind me, I threw up in my mouth and I'm currently recovering. We're all good, but I've had a very, very stressful couple of weeks. Still very much in recovery. Operating at about 20% efficiency. Still wanted to get in there and talk about the new show and these levels. But I am taking it low and lazy. So up there is a thing that I really wanted to show off, but I accidentally fell through the floor. They have a segment that is reminiscent of the amusement park in 2012. Something you would never reasonably see if you just played story mode in 2012. Where you can just drive through a bunch of walls. Well, I was enjoying those textures, but they're gone. Okay, they're back. This isn't Gridiron Gore, the song. I don't think. But it might be. I gotta check. It's Buster's Lanes. That's right, Gridiron Gore has a remix of Moscow. So this level is honestly shaped rather differently from how I recall seeing it when I was practicing this, testing it out. This should be the way out to side area. No, this is an area I've never seen before, the locker rooms. So yeah, you can see why Jaffe really toned down this level. just cut all the stands and the concession stands, the seating, just none of that is explorable in Lost. And it shouldn't be, but it's so fun to get to go there. It's bad game design, but really, really good just general PS2 artwork. This is a technical marvel, as unfun as it would probably be to play in actuality. I know there's a way out of here, because the highway has a different structure than it has in Twisted Metal Lost. I cannot find my way out. Let's enjoy some of the signage. Gotta do that. Red Fox. There's a, Ooh. Hey! 40-year-old postal dude is here. Still T-posing. The only person who showed up to our event in the stadium. But he did show up 6 times, so... A for effort. But yeah, 2012, there was a fake Red Bull brand. So they were into fake Red Bull when they were making this game. They finally brought it to fruition several years later in Twisted Metal 2012. Almost every area in every level of this game has low ceilings that prevent you from ever using the gas can. So I've just been avoiding using the gas can. Which is a damn shame. I'm gonna try something. Something that is probably not going to work, but I gotta try. Little spoiler for what the next level's gonna be. We are going to the suburbs, which are, again, very different from how we know them. There's an elevator, which means if I go in there, it'll probably break. It's more functional than most other concave areas. Okay, I think we are done with this. Till such time as I can find more areas of this level. And then we'll return and show it off. Along with the rest of the shipyard. Hey, I found it somehow. That's clearly not the correct way to get there, but we got there. Okay, there was the entrance all along. Under the boink. So this is an area we recognize. This is where the recharge platform is meant to be. Currently is not. I believe this normally is a ramp. Yep. It's much more of a ramp in Lost. But we've got this area back here. Fully explorable. It clearly attaches to other levels that don't exist right now. Makes perfect sense that this would be where the interconnected levels would be. Usually if you see highway, that is where they were intending to attach this to a different level. Uh-oh. So normally that is supposed to be a one-way garage door. But hey, we found it. And now we've seen pretty much all there is to see of this version of the stadium. It might be possible to, at some point, set up the actual multiplayer. I think the game just crashes if you attempt a multiplayer game. But maybe not in certain circumstances. And if that were the case, these levels are perfect for multiplayer. Virtually unplayable in single player. But that would be a fun way to experience them. After we finish taking a look at these last two levels, then it should be a good time to make the game crash by loading in multiplayer. So we still have the Megaflix with, I think, a whole new series of posters. Twisted Metal Lost has a ton of little movie posters for fake movies, and I'm pretty sure they've redesigned all new ones for this one. Harbor City. Looks like it might say shit in the wind. Probably says spit in the wind, because they did intend this for release. They made it much less vulgar in the various textures throughout the game. You saw in the prototype there were some jokes that they definitely could not publish. Falcon is easily legible. A lot of redundant posters, because of course. Last time I showed off these posters, we tried to get into the game files or see where the art assets might have been stolen from. Could never really crack any of these posters, so if you at home have any ideas, any movie buffs, know what they're parodying or just plain stealing here, I'd be interested to learn what's going on here. Spit in the Wind is clearly Gone with the Wind. That's the only one that's clicking with me so far. Here's the theaters, and none of them have the big slope to get up to the rooftop, which is one of the coolest parts of the suburb level in Lost. Happy Vito's Pizza, largely unchanged. Certainly a lot darker, though. It's seen better days. Had clearly been opened at some point last time we saw it. But in this universe, there may never have been a single Happy Vito pizza produced for anybody. Doesn't seem possible to get on top of it either. The church, still useless. Missed opportunity. Always fun to put a health refill in the church. Here's a new building. An ice cream store. What does that say? Sandy's Bloody Sundays, I think? Spelled Sundays with a Y. Very hell cake of them. Not that I am accusing anyone of ever having played Illbleed. Especially not in 2005. This is just interconnected level stuff. No need to explore that. So there are plenty of weapon pickups. Clearly not enough for how much ground there is, but they are dispersed relatively evenly. Donuts is not nearly as clever as the Bloody Sunday. That's weird. They put pickups in the air for us to have to jump to get to. That's a Twisted Metal 1 move in Suburbia. Could even be a reference to that. I should really stop driving into this pit, because it's going to kill me. Whee! Yeah, everything is set too high in this area. Everyone had that corner in their own suburb that fell out of reality. Made you respawn with lower HP. You just get used to it. Definitely don't want to play flashlight tag there, though. There's Happy Vito. I don't think we can platform on the pizzas. Damn shame, that. Ah, here's back behind the theater where they have the recharge platform normally. Looks like that is all there is to see of the suburbs. The area we were just in is the sort of equivalent of the actual suburban area that sort of, you know, like goes up and around, loops around the whole level. The part in Lost where you try to prevent the enemies from ever going, because they will get lost in there and spend forever just running in circles. Bowling alley is much larger, I'll give them that. Kind of nice. Putting actual collision on the lane dividers, though, is awkward. Ooh, we can go into the food court. Doesn't look like we're supposed to be able to do that, but there's a one-way wall we can't go back in. If that was a glitch, it was pretty cool, and there were destructibles inside the kitchen there. So if they can be destroyed, it presumably wanted us to go in there. Just maybe not the way that I did to go in there. So that just leaves Goth. That's the mall. What happens if I fill this slot with Mr. Grimm? Ah, he'll bleed. Might be as much as $600, I believe it. No one bought that game when it was new. Told my Rule of Rose story on a recent Signalis video, where before I'd ever heard anything about it, I held a copy of it in my hand, unopened, at a Best Buy, and put it back down because $35 was too much to spend on a game I'd never heard of. One of my biggest regrets. If I had been more indulgent, I would have owned 6 of the 10 rarest PS2 games, all of which are worth hundreds of dollars today. I could have gotten all of them for 20 to 50 bucks a piece. And I considered it in every case and talked myself out of it. Oh well, I still have like 3 or 4 of the rarest PS2 games. So I'm doing okay. I have non-liquid assets out the wazoo. So yeah, everything here has been retextured. The textures previously were really bad. I hate this flicker. It seems almost like an intentional reference to the way that neon signs did flicker in the 90s. But I'm torn as to whether or not there's any intention to that at all. Or if it's just a glitch. Because most of the other textures are pretty reliable in other levels. In this level, all the textures seem bad, so maybe it's just a problem with the level. There's too many textures. These little banners had nudity on them in the last prototype. This one has gore and advertisements for Blackfield, which makes no sense because Blackfield is a mental asylum for the criminally insane. But yeah, they're all about Blackfields. Weird. So Uncle Pedo's closed down. It's one of the stores that used to be here. Uh-oh, I'm stuck in the ground. Okay, I got freed. I literally couldn't move. I was trying to show on my controller. No matter what I was doing, nothing was happening. Something I really like is Pit Viper's texture in this game. I actually paid a lot of attention to it. Gave it nice, cool stripes that make it go faster. You know, I didn't realize this was a lenticular billboard. Two different versions. My God. Those things actually existed back the last time anyone went to a mall. Tragically, malls have been phased out, as have all potential hangout locations. Get yourself a house, or never have friends again. We can still go to the parking lot area around the mall. That was actually one of the most fleshed out parts of the previous prototype. So they've done very little to change it here. I think they made it a little more solid because it used to be a major risk for falling out of bounds. Vampire's Teeth. Okay, this is Blackfield Mall, inexplicably named after Blackfield Asylum, which would have, in the canon of this game, recently had a huge breakout where all the patients escaped and went on killing sprees. Many of those killing sprees still ongoing. Yep. Definitely a Twisted Metal level. Enemies seem to handle this area a lot better than some of the other levels we've played. Should be the way back into the mall. For some reason there's two thumpers. They really, really nerfed Axel. So combat is that much more tedious. Oh well. We have no reason to do it here. Yeah, some of these are definitely flashing intentionally. Because they have two different color palettes. They're swapping between those. Interesting. And I like that stained glass structure. I've never been to a mall that had stained glass, though, so maybe it strains the relatability of the region. Beautiful in its own way, though. I think the food court is accessible, which you can play the food court on foot as Sweet Tooth in the mission mode. But I don't know where the food court is relative to where we are now. And it might just be blocked off anyway. There we go. Burned down by Thumper. That's enough of that for now. Single console, split screen, deathmatch. Let's go to a stable level, like Ghetto seems to be pretty stable. Well, would you look at that? Looks like you can split screen this game for a little bit of multiplayer. I've never split screened any of these games, but it's nice to know that the option is there. It's definitely going to be the most fun way to play this game if you happen to have someone willing to do it, because the AI is a little broken. All their pathing, it's awkward. Got to imagine the nav mesh has not been fully completed in this version of the game, if that is an actual term that is relevant to anything in this game's design, which I wouldn't know. So yeah, that's Twisted Metal Harbor City. Play it yourself, it's very good. Very fun. If you go to the speedrun Discord for Twisted Metal, which is linked on speedrun.com, if you search Twisted Metal, you can get a link to the Discord. The Discord has a tab for Harbor City. The Harbor City download is pinned in the Discord, which I'm now realizing is a horrible way to do it, so I will try to link the download in the video description when I post this to YouTube. Hopefully that'll get some more people to play this. Also, watch Twisted Metal Season 2 on Peacock. It's shaping up real good so far in 3 episodes where nothing happened. And I wouldn't mind if there were a bunch more episodes where nothing happened, because the writing is fantastic. That is my Twisted Monday advice. And if you want to stick around, I'm gonna speedrun a little bit of Twisted Metal Black and hopefully get a new PB. Hopefully. I wish I could guarantee it, but I've been having a bad run in my practice. We'll see if I'm any luckier on stream. But for now, I thank you for watching Twisted Monday.